Transparently, so you can see my struggles. With this music, I get vulnerable. This mic is like a shovel. Got me digging through my trauma like this body's in this rubble. The destruction of my temple happened to me different levels. Adolescent years for me was difficult. I was a rebel. Never understood the difference with two brothers. I'm the middle one. Couldn't put my finger on it. I just felt the middle one. Suicidal ideations. I was just a little one. Maybe I just wanted some attention from my mama. With no daddy in the picture, started looking for a father. This turned into a mission. Prison buses took me farthest from the tree I could have fallen. Left my daughter with no father. Exactly what I didn't want. Chances wasn't given one. The system got a hold of me and never let me go. Cause the color of my skin.
Touch on if love was like the deciding factor, because we were talking about duty
Right.
and responsibility
Right.
as a man or whoever, and then we were posing the questions. A lot of different. I got some comments here from
Yeah.
some people and stuff like that. So just to kind of touch back, I guess, on that, like, was love considered when you posed the question about, like, it's your duty to maintain your physical appearance
Mhm.
for your partner?
Yeah, it was, and that's exactly what I was saying, right? So it is your duty, because remember when I said, let's say you just said F it all and blew up to 470 pounds, she wouldn't leave you because she loves you. But at what point are you taking advantage of that, if that's what she's attracted to? That was my whole point. That was my whole point. Of course, she's not gonna, and vice versa. If she trains drastically like that, and that wasn't your forte, you wouldn't leave her, because you guys have a family, a foundation. You love her. But at what point does it become her duty to minimize that, right? If that's what you're attracted to,
All right.
and it goes both ways.
No, true. I just wanted to respond to that comment because
No,
it was
respect.
there.
I hope there's more.
No, there is some more there's some questions, some topics, some people wanted us to kind of bring up, and then one of the first things I actually wanted to bring up is the video um that somebody has sent me, right? And it's actually pretty interesting, and if I could find it, I'll play it.
I saw a video this week too that almost brought me to tears, man.
Yeah,
I'll
so
send it to you and see if you can put it in here.
yeah, so this actually came from my mom
Okay.
to my instant messenger, right?
Mom's Duke sent it through.
Yeah, you already know.
Mom's Duke was scrolling and found it. Thought of you.
Everything personally.
Why
Yeah.
do so many black kids receive
So-
experience services compared to other races? Well, this is Erica Commissar. She's a psychoanalyst and she's also an author. She did an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal back in September titled, "School is a Hostile Place for Boys." This is Dr. Umar. He's a psychologist, he's a motivational speaker, and he's also an activist. He's very controversial. Dr. Umar was on the Breakfast Club yesterday, and before leaving, he let them know that he was doing a free meeting for parents about the special education to prison pipeline. I want you to hear what both of them had to say about boys.
If he's a regular, normal, healthy boy, and you're not giving him enough opportunity to release his natural testosterone, a big problem with all this is boys need to move around. In fact, the research even shows boys learn better, Envy and Charlemagne, when they move. So why are they still sitting still for 8 hours when the research said, the neuroscience says boys learn better when they move? Because the teachers, the Caucasian nation, the teachers that run the school, they don't want to move.
We're overdiagnosing little boys with behavioral problems and ADHD, and a lot of that has to do with forcing them into situations that are not good for them, meaning little boys have a lot of testosterone between the ages of 3 and 6, which means they need to run around a lot, and between learning, they need to have a lot of physical activity.
Dr. Umar also goes on and lists other factors as to why boys are behaving the way they behave in school. But they both, Dr. Umar and Erica, noted that not having a father in the household can contribute to these behaviors that we're seeing in boys, along with them having a lot of testosterone and needing to move around. Ms. Commissar said that mothers help regulate sadness, distress, and fear, and fathers help regulate anger. So when they are absent from the home, boys don't learn how to control this aggression. He basically says that having boys sit the way they have to sit in school now causes them stress and make it appear as if they're distracted or irritable, and they end up being labeled as problematic, and this affects their self-esteem and how they feel about school. According to her, one way we can fix this is by allowing boys to be more mobile. Instead of giving them one recess, they need like 3 to 4 recesses.
I mean, we're really failing little boys. It's not that there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with the way we teach them.
I'm about to enter my 19th year as a teacher. This will be my 9th year as a special educator. I've always sat back and wondered, I'm not gonna lie, why are there so many Black kids receiving SPED services compared to other races? Well, this is Erica Commissar. She's a psychoanalyst and
Okay.
she's also an author.
11 things
Okay.
people learn too late in life.
I mean, my first initial thoughts, somebody is going to start crying about it. If so, when they say they're going to give boys extra recesses, they mean girls too? Just more recesses for everyone? Because if boys just got extra recesses, somebody's going to start crying about it, because that's what people do nowadays.
Well, I
Somebody's
mean,
going to start crying.
my take on that video, it isn't even necessarily black boys, even though they're talking.
Right.
They mentioned black boys, but they also said we're failing our little boys.
Right.
In general, and one of the speakers on there was a white lady, so it's not necessarily a racial thing. But when my mom sent it to me, what hit me was like, I remember coming up and being diagnosed
Right.
with ADHD or oppositional defiant disorder or intermittent explosive disorder. I remember there was a point where I was allowed to, if I felt myself getting angry or whatever,
Right.
I could leave the
You could
class.
take a break.
And there was a counselor in the school that was like in the school for like two of us.
Right.
You know what I mean? That we could just bounce and go talk
And
to.
just go holler at her.
And I took advantage of that.
Right. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. And a lot of that
Especially
stuff.
if you were bored in class.
Well, think about the power of suggestion, right? I distinctly remember one of those counselors like telling me something along the lines of basically like they were prompting my answers and it was clicking in real time. So they were
Right.
like, so when you get angry, you black out and you don't remember things. And I was like, yeah, exactly that.
Job security. I'm just joking, but yeah,
But not only job security, it's like the power of suggestion. They're telling me that when I get angry, I
Right.
black out and I have no control of it. It's like you just gave me a green light.
Right.
So now when I'm feeling just rambunctious in class and I'm
Time
not,
to go.
yeah, I'm about to just do a whole bunch of stuff and then, poke my bottom lip out when they tell me I'm in trouble and be like, I don't even remember. I don't
Power
remember
of
though.
suggestion's real.
Especially
It's real.
to a 9-year-old or a
Mhm.
10-year-old in elementary who's clicking the pencil and getting bored and then something happens and it sticks the kid with it. Like situations like
Right.
that, I have been involved in. And it's like when I hear that, and then I remember when I was just like studying psychology when I was locked up in prison for years and years, and I started,
Good way to use your time, though.
yeah, and then I found out there was like basically a mass recall of diagnosis across the board
Oh,
from
nuh-uh.
like I think it was either the 90s or the 80s, but by the 2000s they're like, oh yeah, we have been misdiagnosing children with ADHD. This is just pretty much how they are. And then the
Crazy, yeah.
practices evolve, people learn new things, but think about all those people that suffered not from the diagnosis
Right.
but suffered from the misdiagnosis,
Right.
or running around in
Giving
middle
pills and
school on medication.
No, it's a little bit scary, man, when you think about it. But it's good that they were able to evolve it and pretty much recall it and not just have the same thing going when clearly it probably doesn't work.
Think about this too. When you hear about black people not engaging in therapy, or we come from a culture where we don't, right?
Yep.
But I started thinking about that. I was working on some stuff the other day, right? And I'm like, at its core, we're tribal, right?
I mean, people or black people?
Black people, we're
Okay.
tribal, right? Maybe all people on some level at some point were tribal, but we're very tribal, which means, to me, in my opinion, it means that we lean on our tribe for those conversations.
Right, right.
So, like, we call elders, and even, being part native, like we call older women auntie,
Mhm.
just off the rip.
Oh,
That's
this is what you do. Sign of
yeah,
respect.
yeah. And grandfather are the older gentlemen,
Right.
right? And so, there's tribes, there's like the shaman, there's the people that we go to and talk to. Also, in our society, and this came from my mom too, when she needed, you know, um, some form of therapy, right? Or wanted it, she couldn't find a provider that she was comfortable with because she wanted a cultural provider,
Okay.
right? So is it that we don't slash won't? Is it really instilled in us, or is it that there's no black therapist? And I won't say no black therapist because people
Right,
will
right.
try to be, nitpicky on
Of
words.
course, there's a black therapist, right? But I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Right.
hey, black. No, I'm just kidding. But the point is, it's like I can't think of off the top. And then before, when I was thinking about this last night, I started to Google it just in our area. I'm not even gonna say what our area is. It's not. That's not the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
The point I'm trying to make is the demographics for how many black therapists per area per takes the insurance that we have to even get one makes it to where we're not going to therapy because we don't want to. It's because we don't believe there's that many therapists available for us
Right.
because we want to relate with our therapist, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
the access, there's barriers to us getting therapy more so than just saying, oh, black people don't believe in therapy. You know what I'm saying? You went to
Would.
therapy.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness.
If I could have a free therapist, I would go to one.
Yeah, perhaps I would too. You know, but I got to think of a counter argument. One could say you don't have to go to a black therapist. You could go to one of the white therapists.
No, you could, but
Right.
at the end of the day, like,
But we want our
you want
cultural.
voice and choice,
Okay.
right? If you're voicing that your choice is to go to a therapist from your culture and they're not readily available, then you're going to a
Right.
therapist as settling, or you're like screw it, I'm just
Mm.
not gonna go. It's not that I have to go to a black therapist,
Right.
but if I had the
If
option,
given the
but yeah,
choice.
if I had the option and I'm reading through profiles and they're like, oh, this therapist is West Indian and black, and I'm like, that's me.
Right.
I want to, okay. And then I click, and then my insurance don't cover, or they don't have availability,
Right.
or whatever. Then I slide over and be like, all right, let me start looking at the other ones,
Right.
right?
Right.
But
I guess.
initially,
Right.
you're gonna and word of mouth is a big deal. Like if there's a really really good therapist, and it's just
Yeah.
not a lot, especially if other people in my circle, culture or not, are like, this is the person, right?
Right.
It's that guy or this that man. She's really good. Then yeah, check it out. Again, will my insurance? Are they taking my insurance? I
Right.
heard that argument before on I forget what talk show it was, but basically it was like the insurances that the black therapists that are in the community accept aren't the ones that we usually have.
Right. Right.
Is that by their design, or is it like something else?
Don't even get me started.
I'm just saying, man.
But no, I hear you.
Because I got stuff I would like to get off, and there's the peer work I do, and peers aren't counselors, aren't therapists.
Right.
So like if I'm leaning on a peer as a formal support, it's more about goal setting and things that I want to do, or ways I want to maintain in my recovery, versus it's not like, so Lou, this is what happened last week and I want to tell you all about my feelings, and I want some advice from you. Like that's not the role of
It's not.
a peer counselor.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying? So
But I mean, not that peer counselor couldn't help you with that, but I do get what you're saying, right?
yeah.
100%.
But that's not their lane.
Right.
Not formal, not paid. So if you have a peer support person that is like your natural support, like your friend, like me and you, for example, I'm a peer in my field. But if you just hit me up, then I'm not a peer. I'm not paid, so I'm not operating within those ethical, confinements. I'm your friend,
Right.
who just happens to be a peer in the field. There's a difference.
Right. Do you
There's
think
no lane. If you started paying me, then I can't
right.
ethically take on the role of like a friend or a counselor. That's what they call like a dual relationship. Your peer and a friend, right?
Right.
It gets blurry because the peer essentially is not supposed to be attached to the other's outcome.
Okay.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
No, that makes sense.
We're friends, so if you come at me with like, I'm gonna naturally have an affinity towards a positive outcome for you, and I'm gonna be, if not a little bit, a lot attached to you getting the outcome you want.
Right.
Whereas as a formal peer, it's like inside I'm rooting for you, but if it doesn't happen, I can't take that home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think like a sponsor? What do you think about this same context in like someone's AA or NA sponsor? What do you think about
Again,
that?
those are two different lanes, and it's actually literally in our training when we become certified peer counselors and or recovery coaches that a recovery coach slash or certified peer counselor is not the same as a sponsor. So the difference between a formal support and a natural support is money. Anybody you pay,
Formal meaning money.
anybody you pay for any type of behavioral health services is considered formal support.
Okay.
Anyone you don't pay is considered natural support. Your inner circle, your deacon, your sponsor. That's a natural support
Right.
because your sponsor can pull up on you, call you in the middle of the
Right.
night. There's no real boundaries except for the ones you and your sponsor set. You know what I'm saying? So they're not getting paid, and you can call your sponsor when you're
Right,
having a
right.
fight with your girlfriend and you're thinking about drinking or whatever the case may be, and it could be 1 a.m. because that's the role, that's the lane of your sponsors to talk you off the edge, right?
Right.
To help you work through the steps. Like that's completely different.
Okay.
But
So I know you guys in a lot of ways talk people off ledges, but that's not your lane, right? So someone couldn't call it. Well, they
so
probably wouldn't have your
let me
personal
put
number
it this
anyway.
way. If I'm coaching you in your recovery, and that's what we're focused on, because I'm also an anger management specialist, but that's also not a peer counselor. That's more clinical than peer counseling, right? It's more direct. But I would support you in talking yourself off the ledge.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I would lean in with curiosity about what got you there, about what's worked in the past when you were doing well, what was working. We would have that conversation till you would come to the conclusion to come off.
Right.
It's not like, hey, you need to come down because everybody cares about you. You need to do this. It's da-da-da. It's like, so, I'm like, what happened? What got you here? When you were doing well before this, like, where'd you end up?
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's more of a support with that internal dialogue to support somebody in getting to the goals that they're setting. It's literally person centered. So like I don't have a plan for you if you are engaging in peer services. The plan is yours. We call
Right.
that the golden thread. So like whatever your overall goal is, your big picture, that's a golden thread. I'm just entrusted to hold that thread without being attached to it. So whatever's already in that thread, that's what we're working on.
Okay.
But it's what you want to work on.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? A therapist, you come in and kind of
Unload,
unpack, and then they tell you in a lot of
They do. Yeah,
So
I've been to a
so
lot
they
of them.
work together. Because if I'm a peer and you have a therapist, we could talk about how often you go to therapy and this and that, and that's another form of support you have in collaboration with having like a recovery coach, and you can have all three.
Right.
I don't come from the angle of like this verse, that. I come from the this and this and.
Let's just make it work.
Yeah, the more support you have, the better.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? Always. So I know you had some topics, some
Oh
stuff you
man,
wrote down.
there is something I do want to talk about. So all the controversy with the Olympics, boxing,
Yeah.
and I forgot how to say it. So I may owe this person an apology. At first, when I heard my first couple of sources slash read my first couple of sources, they basically said that it was a man who was boxing against women, and we know the outcome of that. Boom. As I've kind of dug into it a little bit more, it may be that she is a woman. She just has some kind of hormonal thing going on, but she is a woman. And so I've been very vocal about this, and I was upset about this. And I just felt that a man shouldn't be fighting a woman, especially at the Olympic level where everyone's trained, everyone's dangerous. So I would like to retract my statements I'm still a little bit confused as to exactly what, because I've heard so much from both sides. But yeah, I would like to take that back and apologize until I know all the facts. And
Yeah.
that's been kind of weighing on me, because I was vocal about it, man. I was
No,
all over the Facebook
it's
talking
definitely
this, talking
some
that.
it's definitely some tea. You know what I'm saying? Because
Come on,
randomly,
come
I
on.
didn't know anything about it. Somebody sent me a screenshot of that same thing into my messenger. I then took it, I just read it, right? And one
Right.
thing I try to do is I try to lean in with curiosity. And my first thing was like, why did this person send this to me? And then I just read the caption. I didn't do any research. And I was like, I wonder what Facebook is talking about. So I just posted it and I was like, thoughts. Immediately there was commentation on it, right? And there's both sides. And then I'm reading through them from, like, in my mind, this is a scholarly, uh, non-opinionated, or what's the objective, right?
Okay.
So I'm looking at the post, and then I'm looking at the comments objectively, not leaning in on,
Right. Right.
like a judge of a debate, right? And I'm watching, and then a comment comes up, boom, and it says something along the lines of, "Normally you're uplifting. Why would you post these thought? Why would you post this? And is it that you have concern for the female getting hurt in boxing genuinely, or?"
Absolutely.
But then they go into, and this is why Facebook can be such a slippery slope, especially in our cancel culture, because we don't have free speech. You can't even ask a question.
There is no
The
free speech is
community,
gone.
the community only wants you to post positive. Like, you can't be human and have
Let's
other
go.
thoughts or whatever, right?
Let's go.
So part of this conversation was like this, and then it just jumped all the way to some. To me, it was disrespectful.
Right. Right.
So it's like, or I forget. I wish I would have just saved it, but I ended up deleting it because I don't
You don't have time for that. Right. Right.
I don't indulge in the negative
Let's
exchange of
go.
energy. I don't match energy. I just bring my own.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right. Right.
So this person was like, or is it that you have a strong opinion about trans people and their place in
Trap.
society?
It's a trap.
No, already. And I'm looking at this, and I was like, how, in all of the things that I do in the community, with all the different types of cultures and people that I am in pictures with,
Yeah.
spend my energy with, you know what I mean? Give my energy
Right.
and time to, on and off the clock. So I don't just do it for a job and then I go home and I'm like, fuck
I'm
these
done.
people.
Right.
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, so I post a thing and ask a question, a genuine, like, thoughts, right? And immediately somebody is going to decide to try to cancel off that,
Come on,
or try
man.
to take from it
Come on, man.
their own projected perspective,
Come
right?
on.
I didn't say anything. I didn't even put up
You
my
literally
own
said
comment.
thoughts.
Yeah, I literally was basically like, "Hey, somebody send this to my messenger. What do y'all think? What does
Right.
my Facebook community think?" That's it. So your thought somehow got into,
My
oh
head.
yeah,
Right. Right.
you have a problem with the trans people, or you have strong opinions about
Right.
trans people and their place in society. I don't give a fuck about anybody's place in
Right.
society, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying I don't have an opinion strongly about anybody's allowed to be or shouldn't be
Right.
or whatever, any of that. I don't think in those terms. And another thing about me is I'm pro whatever I'm on. I'm not anti anything. And I'll explain that. The example would be somebody who's anti war
Okay.
is in opposition of war.
Right.
So they're in conflict with war itself.
Okay.
And they'll do things, activist things, proactive things to go against that and to stand on that and to promote their I don't want war. I'm a more of a pro peace person.
Okay.
So I'm not in conflict with war, even
If
though
necessary.
I'm not a conflict with war. I'm pro peace
Okay.
internally, and I'm pro peace, right? So my thing is, I perpetuate my pro peace energy where I go. I act peaceful. I talk in peaceful terms, and this and that. I'm not going to get into a conference about what shouldn't be.
Okay.
I'm just pro what I think should be.
Right.
Right. So that's the difference. So I'm pro sobriety. I'm not anti getting high or getting fucked up.
Okay.
I'm just pro moving in the direction I'm pro my positive growth, pro recovery. I'm not anti negativity. I'm just pro positivity. If that makes sense.
It does. But let's back it up just a paragraph or two. And you're right. Free speech is done. And it's sad, right? It's horrible. Why doesn't Facebook have a thumbs down? Why? Why doesn't Facebook have a thumbs down or like a dislike? Right? It's only thumbs up, heart, smiley face. Basically, you have to agree. They do have the angry, I guess, right?
Well, you're right. They have a
But where's
thumbs down emoji like in your font, like in your your
right?
text.
But why can't you put up a post? I disagree with it and give it a thumbs down, and we can still go about our day and live as normal, right? Why can't someone oppose to someone else's thoughts or say something in opposition? And this is we're going down a slippery path, right? This is getting dangerous. It's one day it'll be to a point where if someone speaks against the government, you're going to go to jail, right? Free speech, free speech. It wouldn't matter. It would not matter if the KKK man walked up to me and called me the N word to my face. He's allowed to say that. Now, the consequences between me and him are a totally different story. The consequences between you and this person, totally different story. But as far as them saying what they want to say and not having repercussions from it from the general public by losing their job or something like that, it's crazy. This is getting out of hand, man. This is getting out of hand, man. And people should be able to say and feel whatever they want to say and feel despite what anyone else thinks. Prime example, you and your post, how someone tried to insert maybe their internal feelings and essentially put you in a trap, bro, because if you would have said something, perhaps even either way, but for sure, if you said something against that community, you're cooked. They would have screenshotted it, had you all sending it to your boss. And what are we doing, man? This is out of control.
Nah, but even
It's a shame.
like one of the last sessions we did, we were talking about like the work field, right? And I wanted to go back to that. So for you, being a black man, having a criminal history, and landing the job you did, right?
Right.
I remember when you got it.
Yep.
And I remember the feeling like dude's looking out for me.
Yeah.
Right? If your counterpart got that same job, he would not feel that somebody was looking out for him. He would feel he got the job he was entitled to. And I say
Wait,
that.
say it again.
So
I got lost somewhere in there. Say it again.
you feel like, so when you got the job that you're working, right?
Yep.
You're like, man, basically, dude gave me a chance. Dude
Gave
looked
me-
out for me.
Put me in the game. Yeah.
Right? Gave you a shot.
Yep.
But you're qualified for that job.
Okay.
You're good at that job, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you have felt like that if so what I'm saying is the counterpart. The person that is the dominant culture that we live in
Oh, okay.
gets that same job. He doesn't go in feeling like, dude, you did me a favor.
Mm,
Dude took a chance on me.
mm.
He goes in feeling like,
I'm supposed to be here.
yeah,
And
I
this
got
is
the
just my
job.
next step.
Yeah, I got the
Right.
job I applied for. It is what it is. And I said that to say, when I came out and this came up in different circles, being black presenting, as they call it, because what I'm saying, I do have,
Can you define presenting?
that's how I look.
Okay.
right?
I thought you were saying something else. Okay.
No. It's just like how you present to someone is how you present, right? So we're black men
Yes,
because
sir.
the society says we are, right? If I identify as exclusively Native or West Indian, I have to tell somebody that because I don't
Right.
present that way,
Right.
right? So being a black presenting man and coming out of prison, I already have insecurities. So I get to, in my own mind, when it comes to the work field, I have to, at least I believed that I have to have more backing my getting a certain job than somebody who's not that.
More backing, as in like references, as in like okay.
Certifications, qualifications, all the different things, right? So, and a prime example is this. So, I'm a recovery coach and I'm a recovery coach professional facilitator. But in the process, what I'm saying, of that, I was being trained to be
Okay.
that, right? And so there was a post, and it's me in front of a class. I had just went down with my trainers and did a recovery coach academy and posted a picture, right? A white dude gets on my public post and says, "I'm really interested in your credentials to be doing that."
Okay.
And it turned into a thing. Like my organization really had my back on that because it was what it was, right?
That had to make you feel good too, by the way.
No, definitely. The organization I
Had
work
to.
for is 100% with the shit,
Right.
right? But the point is, it's like there's a bunch of people that I'm sure this person have seen post these type of things, and they didn't get in their inbox
Mm.
or even take the time because he was like, "Well, I looked on the RCPF list and you're not on it." So the fact that you seen this
Wow.
post and your first thought was to go check my
Right.
name to
Right.
see if I was credentialed to
Okay.
do this thing.
Mm.
That's the insecurity that I'm talking about. And all that did was reaffirm that.
Right.
If I walk into a space and say, "Yeah, I'm a trainer or I'm this," I have the underlying thought of like, I wonder how many people are going to credential that, or should I just front load
And just
with my certifications?
here.
Here. I'm quite okay. Now can we start?
You shouldn't have to do that. Right. But I get what you're saying. Right.
But you
Mm.
see what I'm saying?
I
So it's
do.
like when we're who we are now in that same job, having that feeling, was there, especially in the beginning, was there a higher pressure for you? Did you feel like the threshold for you to make a mistake was like you can't?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I'm asking.
Oh no,
Did,
no,
did you did you
no.
did you feel like because of this favor, like you have to be you have to be excellent, you have to be really good at your job, and you can't afford to make mistakes, or was it different for you?
This situation in specific was very different. There was always the pressure of doing good because there's a sense of loyalty to this man, right? For him not even knowing me and putting me in this situation. So the will and the urge to do good always been there. But as far as making a mistake, um, not really. And it's I get what you're saying, and in any other situation that would apply, but they literally he and the manager literally told me, you are going to make mistakes, you are going to make mistakes, you are, this is a job where everyone makes this. So they beat that into me, they beat that into me, and because of that, just to answer your question,
Well, that's good
I was
leadership.
not yes, I was
That's
not
good
afraid to make
leadership.
a mistake. Right.
That's the type of environment I have in my current situation. That's the type of leadership that's needed in any situation, because
100%.
what it does is it promotes encouragement, it promotes growth, it promotes honesty.
Right.
Because if you go in knowing that your leadership has embedded this, hey, you're going to make a mistake. When you make one, you can just bring it to them, like, yeah. Remember, like it's kind of like you said, this happened, right? And then,
Right.
boom, teaching moments, right? So that's really good leadership. And I guess in my bringing that up, it's just there's when I first started in my career, um, I just always felt like
You can't
there
trip
was
up anywhere.
yeah, there was a magnifying glass on me, on my social media, on whatever.
I remember actually. Yeah, I remember when. Yep.
Because listen,
Yeah,
bro,
we talked about this.
the day,
Uh-huh.
the same week I got hired, somebody had contacted the director of the place,
Right.
and was basically like, this person is active, and
Right.
and so she sat me in her office and was like, yeah, I've had some concerns from the community about hiring you.
I remember him.
And I remember, bro, I felt so gross, because I'm like, why would somebody go out of their way to try to take from something I'm doing
To
positive?
invest their time.
And I just did 4 years, right?
Crazy.
So whatever information this person has on me is at least 4 years old.
Right.
You
Right.
don't know what's going on with me right now, but you would take it upon yourself to see me get something good and to change my life and started the journey that I'm on now, and literally try to get somebody to pull that from under me.
And that's what I mean when I say somebody's gonna cry. That's exactly the stuff I'm talking about. For someone to invest their time into doing that in someone else's business is absolutely crazy.
No, it is. It is. It is.
You know what I mean? Like I, me personally, I just couldn't give a fuck enough to do that to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me
Okay,
neither.
I'm scrolling. Oh, I see it. I may or may not agree with it,
Bro,
and we're still going.
even in that example I gave, even in that example I gave
Wild.
where the dude got at me,
Yeah.
my initial response, like I got to him and was like, "Hey," and I started explaining myself, and then
You don't owe him nothing, man.
he doubled down on. It was almost like it was an attack. It was a straight up attack. And you know what I did? I took
That's exactly
all
what
of
it
my
was.
comments, removed them,
Mhm.
and then blocked them. I just removed myself from the whole equation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I told my trainer, who was like, I trained with this person before. Oh, I'm gonna get at him in instant message. And I said, hey, this is da 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 da. This is the process.
Oh, they were that close to the situation?
Yeah. Well, they knew who the person was.
Okay. Okay.
This person doubled down even with that person. So that's why it ended up going all the way to the CEO of my organization.
Right.
And he ended up writing a letter to the right people about the whole thing. And like I said, it was uplifting, and it was a bad situation, or could have been had I responded poorly,
Right.
or had I been like triggered in a
Right.
way. And it took a lot to get to where I am, as far as emotional regulation and emotional intelligence, because man, I used to take everything personal. Everything
Right.
was because I was black, and you're only doing this because of that. And I was always angry, and I was always like feeling like there was this big weight of injustice always being directed at me. And in a lot of ways, those feelings were validated
Sure.
in a lot of situations in my life. But at the same time, it's like, bro, I gotta choose to live in that space. Like, if I got a choice to not take anything personally, one of the 4 agreements, right? Don't take anything personally. If you really, when I really started to like embody that, and it really changed the way I look at everything, because I could walk down the street and, like you say, some random person could be like N word,
Right.
and I'm like,
And he's allowed to say that.
yeah, and I'm like,
Right.
something's going on with that dude,
Right.
right? I'm not even gonna be like, run across what you say, and where 20 years ago, absolutely I would have. That would have been anti that.
Right.
Instead, I'm pro not that.
Right.
So when I hear that, I'm just like,
Keep it pushing.
I get
Or
curious.
keep it pushing, or handle it. Either or.
But here's
right.
another thing about that, right? And this is just some stuff that comes up. Like, this is what we're doing. We're unpacking that. So that reminds me of when, like, even not just in like prison situations, right? But the fact that I'm at a place where I could ignore that,
Growth.
other brothers will condemn me for not responding in a violent way, or
Right.
or letting it get away and acting like
Right.
something's wrong with that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I do. I do.
So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned,
if
like,
you don't.
growth does have
Right.
pains, man. There's always growing pains. And you know, you get to choose like what stigma you let dictate your life. You got to replace the filter that you see life through.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do for self care?
Man, probably not much, man. I do take jogs and, take my kids places. But if I guess I don't do anything with the intention of maybe calling this self care, except for like when I go for jogs or work out. And I probably should get better about this. Probably should. But I don't know if I know how to do self care,
Okay.
besides getting up in the morning and running for an hour and a half or something. Other than that, I don't know. So I guess to answer your question, probably nothing.
Nothing intentionally.
Nothing intentionally. Boom.
So for me, one of the things I found is a level of self care for me is and it's two things that I do usually at the same time, right?
Okay.
It's get my hair cut,
Yeah.
right? And I do that like even when I leave the house, that's my intention. And wash my car, but clean my car. So like
Right. Right.
the vacuum in, the new scent, and then get the car wash
Right.
with the clean cut. It's like for me, it's like
It's a
a holistic.
package.
Yeah, it's
It's a
like a
package.
holistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so like yesterday, I had $100 in my wallet. That I was like, oh, I'm taking this to casino because I get free play or whatever.
Yep.
And every once in a while, I go down there and play some slots, and then it is what it is, right? And then my son was going through something, my 7-year-old, and I was like, man, you know what? He been bugging about this Deadpool toy,
Yep.
and me and him usually go, or we started to go like about a month ago, because before he was like, I don't want my haircut, but then I took him with me once, and now it's like our thing.
Right.
So I'm like, man, you know what? His sisters was like excluding him from a
Of course.
situation. I
Of
was like,
course.
come on, man, let's go get our haircut and go find you a Deadpool toy.
Yeah.
And we'll hit the car wash. And so yeah, I did that yesterday, and it's really impactful because on the Pie Talk podcast with Priscilla, we just did a fatherhood episode, and if you haven't watched that, check it out. It's like that. But yeah, and I was just thinking about like the generational curses and just the importance of being a father in our kids' life, especially with the stigma around like black fathers not being there for their kids or
Okay.
whatever the circumstances may be. I find it extra important. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we got to kick it. It was cool.
That's what's up. Yeah. Yeah. Found him his toy.
Yeah. We had to
Found him
go.
his
We went
toy.
to like 3 different spots first, because sometimes GameStop be having like
No. Yeah.
action.
GameStop be
They
having
be
them.
having
Yeah.
some dope action figures. So we went there first. Didn't find nothing, and then we went to Walmart, which all the Deadpools was all, there was none on the
Of
shelf.
course.
So finally, we went to the comic book store, and he got the last one.
Where's the comic book store at?
Off Pacific,
Okay.
kind of on the way to like Fred Meyer.
I think I know where you're at. Yep.
I think it's Olympic Comics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
ass building.
Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to stop by
inside it
there.
looks smaller from because
Yeah.
it kind of like but we ended up doing that, and then we hung
Found
out.
the last one, huh?
It was the last one in the store.
If
It was
you-
either that or I was gonna have to like go on Amazon. He was gonna have to wait a couple
Right.
days
Right.
for him to get it. But
And
yeah,
you probably would have
that
got it
basically
cheaper, but it's about the moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that, and I made a post. I was like, $100 save for casino, save for
Yeah.
bet, car wash, haircuts, and Deadpool tour with my son. It's a win.
And he
And
got the
they did not.
Wolverine too.
They're still glued to his hands. If we
Yeah,
call him
yeah.
out here right now, he probably got, because I got him the Wolverine and
Yep.
the Deadpool.
I walked in this morning. First thing he said was, "Calvin, want to come see my new toys?"
Yeah,
But did you hear me trick him?
yeah.
Because I had already I had already known about that, and so he was like, "You got to guess." So I was just messing with him. And then finally, right before I turned the corner, I said, "Let me guess, Deadpool and Wolverine." And he was like, "How'd you know?" I never told him how I knew, but yeah.
I had a couple from
Yeah.
the public. Like one dude was talking about um the I think he said the irony of how women talk about deadbeat dads,
Okay.
and they'll like lean in. I forget the post, but he wanted it to be anonymous. And he was like, it's funny because I have multiple. He said he had multiple kids with different women or whatever, but the same woman that will slander a deadbeat has no problem with him not seeing his other kids to benefit her relationship with them. So he could,
Interesting.
and I thought to myself, man, I have multiple kids, but I don't have that. But I could see if I did, like that would be like that would be a hard
Right.
thing to deal with. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like
for
my
sure.
wife really bonds with my other kids, and then the older ones are already kind of out of the house, but they come around like they're cool, and even when they're not cool, it's cool
Right,
because
right.
that it's but like I have a younger one that comes around and she really bonds with her. So when I seen this, it hit home, but then again, it didn't. But I see the potential for where it could have because I understand like our situation was unique.
Right,
There was a gap, and then we got back together, and then
right.
there's this forgiveness cycle and all these different things that come up. But yeah, I guess he wanted us to like. I think he asked specifically for your kind of
Oh,
opinion on that.
um. So okay. So okay. See, I feel like people will take any opportunity to bash someone, and I feel if I'm just keeping it real with you, my brother, um, if she's trying to keep you from your kids for any reason, then I don't want to. This to sound bad, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's not okay that, in my opinion, that she's trying to keep you from your kids for any reason. And I think that that's just one thing. Your kids are gonna be a part of you. That's never gonna change. You and her may break up. Those are always gonna be your kids, whether they're hers or not. And she needs to find it within herself to overcome that. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's a very, very touchy thing, man. Those are your kids, man. Those are your kids, and it's in a lot of ways slash every way they even come before her. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I hear that. I had actually two other
Yeah.
questions that was in my either YouTube or email. I think it was email, but and this is, I guess, for both of us. It's when's the last time you cried in front of another human and why? And then the follow up question was last time you wanted to but didn't.
Oh, you know what? Not too long ago, actually, I was in the bathroom, and my youngest opened the door on me, and I was just sitting on the toilet crying, and I and then she went out and ran out, and then when I got out, I played it as if I was yawning. You know when you yawn sometimes,
Your
your
eyes
eyes
water.
water, and that's how I spun it. Um, but the reason why, I think that everything was just kind of building up, just in my life. You know what I mean? And sometimes I think laughter's good. I think crying's good, and I don't even know if I necessarily knew why. I wasn't really thinking about anything in particular, but I think I just needed that moment, right? Maybe
It's
to
like a
just
pressure valve, right?
something, just like a pressure valve, just like a pressure valve, and it wasn't even very long. I just needed to kind of, there's a few things in my life, and yeah, it's good, man. It's good to laugh. It's good to cry. How about you?
Um, Most recently was probably Block's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
We went to his grave and took a cake out there. It was um, with his brother and some nephews and stuff. I know it's been a long time, but there's just times, man, where it's hard not to like it's not something I control necessarily, and I don't know which time I go to his grave that I'm gonna
Right.
experience that. And so yeah, now that was in front of everybody, like, um, but honestly, there is another time. So I was in a work situation, and prior to um this particular supervisory meeting, uh, there was like, I had been making improvements steadily, like
Okay.
doing the most. You know what I'm saying? And then I had been kind of like, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say challenged, but a conversation had came up, which was basically taking away, in my eyes, all the things that I had done to not have conversations like this.
Okay.
And so um, I end up responding in the email that I had received from a supervisor, and then instead of responding, that supervisor came and was like, "Can we just talk?" And during that, like a bunch of stuff just came up,
Right.
and I remember I was just like really emotional, and then it was just like, that person was like, "Yeah, I don't ever want to like
Right. 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 Right.
make you
Right.
feel like that," and it was actually that supervisor and I are like really close. That was like a growing pain because there was some really grown up stuff happened in that. Uh, and then yeah, that was probably the most significant one.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I was thinking about it. I kind of gave you guys a half answer. So that situation I told you guys a couple weeks ago did happen, but I spun it. But I spun it as I was yawning. Last year, when my boss called me in his office and told me he appreciated me and told me I was doing good and gave me a raise, during that whole time he was talking, I was crying. So that was the last time. That was the last time.
Yeah, yeah. Now, which this was your daughter that saw you on
Yeah. Because man, you can't get 2 minutes to yourself. You can't
no,
even go to the
I get
bathroom
that,
without
but
them kicking the door down.
where I'm going with this is a little like we're unpacking. This is what
Yeah.
this is about, right? Why did you feel the need to spin it?
Oh, because everyone would have made a big deal about it, and then everyone would start asking all these questions. And sometimes I don't want to just talk about it. Sometimes I don't want to like explain everything. Sometimes it's just easier to just be like, oh, this is, and then go about back to what I was doing. Sometimes I don't want to do that, and I think, and I know people care. I know people care, and they want to help you, but I don't always want to talk about it right then, right? Maybe if we set a time later, cool. Or I just don't like it sometimes. It makes me uncomfortable. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and that's what I'm getting at, and I'm glad these questions came through, right? Because it's like, is it our culture that causes us to spin it? Like, why are we not okay with our feelings? Why are we not okay expressing it? And then that also, as a father, you know, by not spinning it, for example, say you would have pulled that kid in and closed the door and be like, hey, like I'm just going through some stuff, and
Right.
sometimes it's okay to just take a
Mhm.
moment to yourself and keep this between us. That would have just
Yeah.
could that have been but that's what I'm saying. We don't think like that.
Right.
It's
Especially
easy
in the
for me to
moment.
say it,
Right.
hearing you have that story. Like, no, this is what I would have done, but it's
Right.
not. It's
Right.
probably not what I would have done.
Right. Right.
But there's opportunity moving forward if something like that happens again to break those generational cycles of like
Right. Right.
black men don't cry or men don't cry, whatever. It doesn't even have to necessarily be cultural. Like there's a whatever that masculinity that people talk about where it's not okay to cry, but like it definitely is.
No, it is.
It's definitely
I think it's healthy.
necessary. Yeah,
I think
it
it's
is.
healthy.
But I was just curious about like why we don't go into it. Why is it like a shameful,
Right.
secretive type of thing to express that emotion? But you'll get angry in front of the whole house, no problem.
No, for real.
That's an emotion too.
For real.
You have no problem expressing
Clean up.
expressing your anger, talking about what you're frustrated about.
Right.
But if you were to cry, even if it's like just releasing the steam valve, why can't we express that with the
True.
same frequency as, what I'm saying, when it could be more beneficial
True.
to say like, hey, sometimes you just got to cry. Like sometimes stuff happens. Like it's good
No,
for you,
yeah, it is.
right?
It
Instead of
is.
being like, I was actually yawning, and
Right. Yeah, I spun that one.
yeah, but but that's your natural go-to, right? Why? And I can't say for sure, but I know in some way, shape, or form, my natural reaction I was if I was alone doing it, then I think that's part of it too.
True.
If somebody comes in when I wasn't expecting them to come in and see me, and I look up and
Right.
snot and whatever, and they're
Right.
like, "What's wrong?" Like you said, the now you're thinking of like preserving your peace or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like you kind of panic,
Right.
right?
Right.
I would panic and maybe be like, "Hey, come in here," because they might run upstairs and be like, "Dad's in the
Right.
bathroom crying."
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. I was like,
Right, yeah. Then you gotta like you said, then you gotta explain to the wife.
right.
Then you gotta
No, it turns into a whole thing. It turns into a whole drama show. And genuinely, in that moment, there was not like a specific reason. So even if I did,
that you could just
right,
pull. It
even if
was
I did,
just
like, okay, I would not have been able to, like, even thinking back on it right now, I could not even tell you. I could not tell you why. I can't. I can't. There was no, it was just a moment. Okay, boom. Sometimes you got to, and then you got to get back to dad, right? You got to get back to being a man because, and maybe you might not agree with this, it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I'm saying? Take your motherfucking ass to work and make sure these kids eat. You know what I'm trying to say? As the man, nobody gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. And yeah, okay, your family cares about you if you don't feel good. Of course, they'll make you some soup. But at the end of the day, as the man, nobody gives a fuck. So take your moment, cry. This is how I was feeling in the minute. Take your moment, cry, put the
so.
face back
This was
on.
your self talk essentially.
This is my
This is your
overall
internal
general
dialogue.
no, this is the way I feel about probably life. No one gives a fuck. Take your motherfucking ass to work and make sure these kids eat.
Yeah.
So if you gotta take a moment over here to get it out, and then get back to
And then
it.
get back to it. So the other question, the second part of that was like, do you remember the last time where you wanted to but didn't? Like, were you
Ooh.
in a situation where like maybe if you were in the bathroom thinking about that, you would have
Mhm.
cried, but because of maybe where you were or just an incident where like you legit just wanted to just cry, but you chose not to.
Yeah.
You got one?
Also recently, I was at work and I was talking to somebody on the phone, and they were bringing up some stuff in their life, and then it made me think about my life and what I got going on in my whole general picture.
Yeah.
And it just it was the weirdest, most surreal thing. What they were saying, it mirrored what like I've been probably feeling internally and everything. And it was just it was almost like I was talking to myself for those few minutes. And it was just weird. And what makes it so interesting is they were calling as a client, right? I was super busy, phones ringing, people are walking in, this, and this, but they clearly needed to get something off of their chest. So I let them go. You know what I mean? As busy as I was, because I realized in that moment it was bigger than me. And in the same token, it was what I needed to hear, right? And the only reason I didn't cry is because as soon as we got off the phone, there was people waiting for me. There was other people messages to take. There was someone in the office waiting to come, you know what I mean? And if the outside factors were different, I probably would have broke down crying with them on that phone. But like I said, moral of the story is they needed to get that off their chest. And it was the exact same thing that I'm going through, or that I feel that I'm going through. It was it was
super
crazy.
similar.
It
Yeah.
was crazy. It was almost like God put them there. You know what I mean? It was nuts, man. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts. How about you?
Uh, I'd say mine was pretty recent. It's actually I was having a conversation with my mom actually,
Okay.
and because part of this is her story, I'm not going to go into
Oh, of course.
why
Right.
you know, what the context of our conversation was, but it was in person, and she was explaining a decision she had made to me, and it brought up some stuff from my childhood, and I remember feeling feeling like I wasn't being understood, or like um, she was taking on something, making something out of something, because it was about something that I had did or said or
Okay.
something, and the decision was like an impactful one that she had made based on this thing I did or said. And for me, it was like out of 100, you're keying in on
Right.
2
Right.
and making it, and it was like I just felt completely invalidated for the other 98. And
Oh
then you're
yeah.
making this
Yeah.
big decision based on this 2 when the point was the 98.
Right. The whole 100.
Yeah,
Was the point.
it was a way bigger picture, and the 2 that she was you know focused on was something that I wasn't even focused on in the 100. It had nothing to do with
Yeah.
that whatsoever. And so yeah, I remember I was sitting in front of her and I was just like, shit was coming up, and then I ended up just like, all right,
Yeah.
and like, you know, I had the kids and we were like,
See you next
do it.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, and I just left, and I just sat with that, and I just thought about it, and that's just that, you know what I mean? It was just like, man, you know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, I don't know. I think if I had the ability to find and afford a therapist, there's some aspects of my life that I would benefit from
Right.
being able to unpack that in detail with. Like even this is good,
No,
man.
it is. It
This
is.
is helping, but in the different setting, you know, like with the professional, the whole story of that would
100%.
have come out
Right.
in detail. But because we're doing this, like we're
And it's not your business.
yeah, not no man. Like we're dipping our toes into this. You know what I'm saying? It is very
Right.
very therapeutic, and you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you coming
No,
up
no,
with
for
this.
sure, for sure. I told you, I've told you a million times. This is kind of like my little therapy. I enjoy coming over here and talking, and you know what I mean. I really do.
Yeah,
I really do.
you know, brother,
It's
coming up, man.
peaceful.
We sitting under a cherry tree in my
Yeah.
backyard, right?
It's nice out here too.
It's nice. Yeah, it's not,
At the
man.
top of the morning,
We
you
thought it
know
was
what I'm
gonna be
saying?
cold, but
It hasn't
that's
been.
it, man. We're just over an hour. Session 3 complete. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Calvin and Bilal Unpack Life, aka Black Men's Therapy. See you for next session.
Thank you guys for your time.